My husband Gavin considers walking from the couch to the fridge a high-intensity interval workout. So when he suddenly volunteered to manually haul our recycling bins to the community dumpster, a 400-yard round trip, every single Tuesday and Thursday at exactly 6 p.m., I didn't see a man turning over a new leaf. I saw a neon sign blinking, "I am up to something," in bright red letters. He thought he was being slick. He forgot he was married to an ER nurse who specializes in trauma triage. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I need you to understand the baseline level of laziness we are dealing with here, so you can appreciate the sheer absurdity of the situation. Gavin is a man who once texted me from the living room to ask if I could bring him a glass of water because the cat was sleeping on his lap, and he didn't want to disturb the ecosystem. This is a man who, for 7 years of marriage, has treated the concept of recycling with the same suspicion most people reserve for pyramid schemes. I have spent hours, literal hours of my finite life on this planet, explaining to him that you cannot just throw a greasy pizza box into the blue bin and hope for the best. It's cardboard, Piper, he'd argue, usually while lying horizontal on the sectional. Paper comes from trees. Trees are nature. It returns to the earth. It's saturated in pepperoni grease, Gavin, I'd say, fishing it out. It contaminates the batch. You are single-handedly destroying the planet. So fast forward to late April. I'm in the kitchen, aggressively scrubbing a lasagna pan because work was hell. I had a guy come in with a golf ball stuck in a place golf balls should legally not be allowed to go, and I just wanted to decompress. The clock on the microwave hit 5:58 p.m. Gavin walked into the kitchen, but he wasn't wearing his usual "I gave up on life at 5:00 p.m. sweatpants. He was wearing jeans, and not just jeans, he was wearing his good jeans, the dark wash ones that make his butt look like he actually does squats. He opened the cabinet under the sink and pulled out a pair of brand new stiff yellow leather work gloves. The price tag sticker was still half peeled on the left wrist. "What are you doing?" I asked, pausing mid-scrub. He strapped the Velcro on the gloves with a sharp sound. "Taking the recycling down to the main dumpsters, babe. The bin is overflowing." I looked at the bin. It was maybe half full. A couple of La Croix cans and an Amazon box. "It's Tuesday," I said. "Truck doesn't come until Friday. Just leave it in the garage." No, he said, shaking his head with this weird, manic energy. "I read an article. If you let the aluminum sit too long, the residue attracts fruit flies. Big time. Gotta stay on top of sanitation, Piper. You, of all people, should know that." He grabbed the bag. He puffed out his chest. "I'll be back in a bit," he announced. "Gotta make sure I sort it into the right color-coded dumpsters. Takes time to do it right." He walked out the back door. I stood there holding a soapy sponge, staring at the empty doorway. "Fruit flies?" I whispered to the empty kitchen. "Residue?" This man hadn't washed a dish since the Obama administration, and suddenly he was worried about the sanitation levels of empty seltzer cans. I dried my hands on a dish towel, walking over to the window. I watched him strut down the walkway toward the common area dumpsters. He checked his reflection in the side mirror of our Honda Civic as he passed it. He fixed his hair. He fixed his hair to throw away garbage. I'm an ER nurse. My gut instinct is usually right. If a patient says they feel a sense of impending doom, I crash cart them immediately. Looking at Gavin's retreating figure, I felt that exact same sense of doom. This wasn't recycling. This was a performance. 2 weeks later, it's a Tuesday. I wasn't supposed to be home. Usually on Tuesdays, I pull a 12-hour shift at St. Mary's, running from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But the universe works in mysterious ways. Or rather, the hospital scheduling software crashed and double-booked 3 of us, so my charge nurse, bless her heart, sent me home early at 5:30 p.m. I was exhausted. I had a headache that was throbbing right behind my left eye. I just wanted to go home, take a shower hot enough to boil lobster, and pass out. I pulled my car into the complex entrance at 6:12 p.m. Our complex, the Oaks at Riverview, There are no oaks, and the river is a drainage ditch, has a long winding drive that goes right past the main dumpster enclosure. As I rounded the curve, my headlights swept across the recycling area. And there he was, Gavin. He wasn't sorting aluminum. He wasn't battling fruit flies. He was leaning against the brick wall of the dumpster enclosure, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in months. And standing right next to him, laughing with her head thrown back like she was in a yogurt commercial, was Felicity. Felicity is the HOA President. She lives in Unit 12, 3 doors down. She is the kind of woman who sends mass emails about unauthorized door wreath colors and balcony aesthetic violations. She's 34, blonde, and projects an aura of aggressive perfection. But that wasn't the weird part. Neighbors talk, whatever. The weird part was the dog. Felicity was holding a leash attached to a very large, very energetic golden retriever. I slowed the car to a crawl, rolling down my window. The gravel crunched under my tires, and they both snapped their heads toward me. The look on Gavin's face wasn't guilt. Not yet. It was pure, unadulterated panic. Like a deer in headlights, if the deer was also holding a bag of suspicious recycling. "Hey," I called out, putting on my best tired but friendly wife voice. "Recycling day again." Gavin scrambled away from the wall. "Piper, you're early." "System glitch," I said. I looked at Felicity. "I didn't know you got a dog, Felicity. He's gorgeous." Felicity smoothed her white cardigan. She recovered faster than Gavin. "Oh, hi, Piper. Yes, this is Buster. He's a foster. Just picked him up today. Helping out the local shelter, you know? Giving back." "A foster," I repeated. "Yep," she beamed, scratching the dog behind the ears. "Just for a few weeks." "That's so noble of you," I said, my voice flat, "especially considering your severe dander allergy. Remember the HOA meeting last fall? You tried to ban all dogs over 40 pounds because you said their shedding was, what was the phrase, bioterrorism on your sinuses." Silence. The golden retriever panted happily, filling the void. Felicity blinked. "Oh, well, I'm trying exposure therapy. My allergist recommended it." "Exposure therapy," I said, "with a 70-pound retriever." "Exactly," Gavin chimed in, his voice an octave too high. "It's a medical thing, babe. Felicity was just explaining the science of it to me. Very fascinating stuff." "Fascinating," I said. I looked at the dog. I looked at Felicity, who was not sneezing, not wheezing, and had 0 hives. I looked at my husband, who was sweating despite it being 65 degrees out. "Well," I said, rolling up the window, "don't let me interrupt the science lesson. See you at home, Gavin." I drove the remaining 100 yards to our driveway. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard the leather creaked. Exposure therapy. I parked the car, turned off the engine, and sat there in the dark garage for a full minute. My headache was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. I didn't confront him. Not yet. In the ER, you don't treat a patient based on a hunch. You run diagnostics, you get the labs, you get the imaging, you get the proof. The following Thursday, I was sick. I called in, claiming a migraine, and spent the day lying on the couch with a cold compress, playing the part of the invalid wife. At 5:30 p.m., Gavin came home from work. He asked how I was feeling. I told him I was woozy but okay. At 5:55 p.m., he started pacing. At 6 p.m. exactly, he grabbed the recycling bag. "I'm just going to run this down, honey. You rest." "Thanks, babe," I whispered weakly from under my blanket. The second the door clicked shut, I threw the blanket off and sprinted to the guest bedroom upstairs. It has a window that overlooks the main walkway. I pulled out my phone and opened the stopwatch app. Start. I watched him walk down the path. He wasn't walking fast. He was checking his phone. At 6:03 p.m., he reached the dumpster area. He disappeared behind the brick wall. At 6:04 p.m., Felicity walked out of her unit. No dog this time. She was wearing a sundress and carrying a bottle of wine. She walked straight to the dumpster area and disappeared behind the same wall. I sat on the floor by the window, staring at the stopwatch numbers ticking up. 15 minutes. They were back there for 15 minutes. At 6:20 p.m., Felicity emerged. She didn't have the wine bottle anymore. She walked back to her unit, checking her reflection in the windows as she passed. At 6:21 p.m., Gavin came out. But he didn't come straight home. He stopped at the mailboxes. He stood there for exactly 2 minutes, pretending to read a flyer about lost keys. I realized what he was doing. He was cooling off. He was letting the flush in his cheeks die down. He was composing his face. He walked back into our house at 6:25 p.m. I was back on the couch, blanket pulled up to my chin. "All done," he said, exhaling loudly like he'd just run a marathon. Man, the sorting bins were a mess today. Someone put glass in the paper bin. Had to reorganize it. "You're a saint, Gavin," I said, eyes closed. "Just doing my part," he said. He walked into the kitchen and I heard him open a beer. 25 minutes for a task that takes 4 minutes. I looked at my phone. The stopwatch was still running. I hit stop and took a screenshot. Exhibit A. The next morning, Friday, I had a day off. I drove to the Best Buy on the other side of town, the one near the mall where nobody I knew shopped. I didn't want to run into a neighbor while I was buying the surveillance equivalent of a SWAT van. I found a sales associate named Kevin. Kevin looked like he was 12 years old and bored out of his mind. "I need cameras," I told him, "and I don't want the cheap stuff that runs on batteries and dies in 2 weeks. I need the 4K night vision, motion sensor, upload to the cloud stuff." Kevin perked up. "Okay, what are we securing? House? Business?" "My peace of mind," I said. "I need a doorbell camera with a wide-angle lens, and I need outdoor cameras that look like landscape lighting. Do you have those? The ones that are stealthy?" "Oh, yeah," Kevin said, leading me to an aisle that smelled like ozone and plastic. "We got the new Ring spotlight cams with the solar panel attachments. Unlimited power, and the resolution is insane. You can see a license plate from 50 feet. Can I see a husband's betrayal from 50 feet? I thought, but didn't say. "I'll take 3, I said, "and the doorbell, and the chime extender." "That's a heavy setup," Kevin said, scanning the boxes. "You expecting a break-in?" "Something like that," I said. "We've had some pests, raccoons, big ones." The total came to $1,282.65. I put it on my personal credit card, the one Gavin doesn't have access to. I walked out of that store carrying 3 large plastic bags, feeling like I was carrying nuclear launch codes. I sat in my car in the parking lot and ripped the receipt into tiny shreds, stuffing them into an empty coffee cup in my center console. I couldn't leave a paper trail. I drove home, rehearsing my script. I needed Gavin to install these. I needed him to think it was his idea. I needed him to think these cameras were facing outward, protecting him from the world, not realizing they were facing inward, documenting his destruction. "It's just that with the uptick in package thefts," I said that evening, unpacking the boxes on the kitchen island, "I don't feel safe, Gavin. And since I'm working late shifts, I just worry about you being here alone." I laid it on thick. I played the paranoid wife card. Gavin looked at the boxes. He looked at the high-tech gadgets. His eyes lit up. Men love gadgets, even cheating men. "Whoa," he said, picking up a solar panel. "These are top of the line, Piper. Where did you get the money for this?" "Overtime bonus," I lied. "I wanted to surprise you, but I don't know how to install them. It looks complicated. It involves drilling." I handed him the power drill like I was handing a knight his sword. "I got this," he said, puffing his chest out. "You want security? I'll give you security." Saturday afternoon, I watched from the patio, sipping iced tea, as my husband climbed a ladder to install the very cameras that would ruin him. "How's the angle here?" he shouted down, positioning the camera on the corner of our back fence. The fence that separates our patio from Felicity's patio. "Angle it down a bit," I called back, "to cover the walkway. In case the thieves try to sneak through the hedges." He tilted it down. It was perfect. It had a clear, unobstructed view of the gap in the privacy fence, the gap he likely squeezed through when he didn't want to walk around the block. "Perfect, babe," I yelled. "You're so handy." He grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Fort Knox, baby. Nobody's getting in or out of here without us knowing." I took a sip of my tea to hide my smile. "Exactly, Gavin. Without us knowing." He spent the next hour installing the Ring doorbell. He synced it to his phone. He synced it to my phone. "Look at this clarity," he said, showing me the feed on his iPhone. "I can see the pores on the delivery guy's nose." "Incredible," I said. He was so arrogant. He was so sure that he was the protagonist of this story that it never occurred to him he might be the villain being tracked. He thought the cameras were for his protection. It took 3 days. I was at work. It was Tuesday again. My phone buzzed in my scrub pocket at 3:15 p.m. Motion detected backyard camera, too. I was in the break room eating a stale bagel. My heart did a weird flip-flop in my chest. I unlocked my phone and opened the app. The video buffered for a second, then played. The timestamp read May 21st, 15:15. The video showed our backyard. It was sunny. The azaleas were blooming. Then Gavin entered the frame. He wasn't taking out the trash. He was sneaking. He walked to the corner of the fence, the spot where the wood slats had a little give. He looked left. He looked right. He looked directly at the camera, which he thought was turned off during the day because he had set a schedule for it. He didn't know I had overridden the schedule and set it to always record. He was wearing the blue Ralph Lauren polo shirt I had bought him for our 10th anniversary. I remember buying it. I remember wrapping it. I remember writing "to my favorite guy" on the card. On the screen, Gavin grabbed the top of the fence. He hoisted himself up. It wasn't graceful. He scrambled, his foot slipping on the wood, his face contorted in effort. He kicked a flower pot over as he straddled the fence top. He dropped down onto the other side, into Felicity's patio. A moment later, Felicity's back door opened. She stepped out wearing a short silk robe. She didn't look surprised. She looked expectant. She handed him a drink. He took it. He leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a friendly peck. It was a full-on, hands-in-hair, movie-style kiss. I sat there in the sterile hospital break room, staring at the tiny screen. The bagel turned to ash in my mouth. It's one thing to suspect. It's one thing to know in your gut. But to see it? To see the pixels arranging themselves into the image of your husband kissing the HOA President in broad daylight while you are saving heart attack victims 5 miles away? It breaks something inside you that you didn't know could break. I saved the video. I downloaded it to my phone. I uploaded it to a hidden Dropbox folder. Then I stood up, threw the rest of the bagel in the trash, and went back to work. I had a patient in room 4 with a lacerated hand. He needed stitches. I was very good at stitching things up. The following Thursday, I almost blew it. I was at home, off shift. Gavin had texted me at 4 p.m. saying he had a late client meeting and would grab dinner in the city. "Don't wait up," he wrote. At 6:30 p.m., I got a notification from our joint credit card app. Transaction alert $140.50 at Giovanni's Ristorante. Giovanni's. That was our place. That was where we went for Valentine's Day. It was downtown, intimate, candlelit. The rage that hit me was blinding. It was physical. My vision actually blurred. He was taking her to our spot on my credit card? I grabbed my keys. I didn't think. I just reacted. I drove downtown like a maniac. I ran a yellow light that was definitely more red than yellow. I rehearsed what I was going to do. I was going to walk in there, flip the table, and scream. I was going to make a scene that would end up on TikTok. I pulled up to Giovanni's. I parked illegally in a loading zone. I stormed inside. The hostess looked up, startled. "Table for one?" "I'm looking for my husband," I snapped. "Gavin, he's here with a blonde." The hostess frowned, scanning the room. We're pretty empty tonight, ma'am. It's a Thursday." I pushed past her. I scanned the dining room, empty tables. A couple of elderly tourists eating pasta. A business dinner in the back. No Gavin, no Felicity. I got a charge, I stammered, checking my phone. 20 minutes ago. The hostess softened. Was it a takeout order? We do a lot of pickup. I froze. Pickup. Did a man named Gavin pick up food? I asked, my voice trembling. She checked the computer. Yes. 2 orders of osso buco and a tiramisu, picked up at 6:35. He wasn't dining here. He picked up food to take it... Where? To her place. They were eating our anniversary meal in her condo, probably laughing about how he used the joint card. I walked back to my car, feeling like an idiot. I had wasted an hour. I had wasted gas. I had almost caused a traffic accident. I sat in the driver's seat and banged my head against the steering wheel. Focus, Piper, I told myself. Stop reacting, start planning, don't chase the decoys. I drove home slowly. When I got back, the house was dark. Gavin wasn't home. He was 3 doors down, eating osso buco. I didn't want to go inside my empty house. The silence was too loud. I sat on the steps of the semi-outdoor stairwell that led up to our unit. It was concrete, cold, and smelled faintly of bleach and pine needles. I put my head in my hands and let myself cry, just for a minute. Just a quiet, ugly sob that shook my shoulders. You're blocking the fire exit. I jumped about a foot in the air. Standing at the bottom of the stairs was Barrett. Barrett is 72 years old. He lives in Unit 6, directly below Felicity. He is a retired CPA who walks with a cane and scowls at children who play too loudly. We had spoken maybe 5 times in 3 years, mostly him complaining about the recycling bins being overfilled. Ironic now. I wiped my face frantically. I'm sorry, Barrett. I'm just having a moment. He didn't offer a tissue. He didn't ask if I was okay. He leaned on his cane and looked at me with eyes that had seen decades of tax audits. It's the husband, isn't it? He said. I froze. What? The husband, Barrett repeated. Gavin, sales guy. Loud laugh. Why would you say that? Barrett shifted his weight. I live below Unit 12. Felicity. My heart stopped. The walls in this building are paper, Barrett said, tapping the concrete wall with his cane. Cheap construction. They use drywall where they should have used insulation. He looked me dead in the eye. Every Tuesday and Thursday around 6:15, Barrett said, his voice dry and factual, like he was reading a spreadsheet. I hear furniture moving upstairs. Then I hear music, terrible pop music. Then I hear other things. I stared at him, my mouth open. I have a distinct schedule, Barrett continued. I watch Jeopardy at 6 Seu, Wheel of Fortune at 6:30. It is very distracting to have the ceiling plaster vibrating during Final Jeopardy. He wasn't judging. He was annoyed. I assumed you knew, he said, but seeing you crying on the stairs, well, now I know you didn't. I suspected, I whispered. Suspicions are useless, Barrett grunted. Data is useful. If you need a witness statement for the noise complaints, I have a log. I write it down. Dates and times. He tapped his temple. I like a quiet building, Piper. Your husband is disrupting the quiet. He started to walk past me, climbing the stairs one slow step at a time. When he reached my level, he paused. Get him, he said. Then he continued up to his apartment and slammed the door. I sat there staring at the concrete. I had an ally, a grumpy, Jeopardy-watching ally. Armed with Barrett's intel and my new camera system, the next 4 weeks became a montage of surveillance. I stopped crying. I started archiving. I treated it like a patient chart. I created a folder on my laptop titled Tax Documents 2024 because Gavin would never, ever open a folder with that name. Inside, I created subfolders: video evidence, financial trails, witness logs. Week 3, video number 4, May 28th. The backyard camera caught them on her patio again. This time, they weren't even hiding. They were sitting in lounge chairs, sharing the bottle of wine I realized he had bought with our grocery money. Gavin reached out and touched her face. He stroked her cheek with a tenderness I hadn't felt in years. I zoomed in. He was wearing his wedding ring. The sun glinted off the gold band as he caressed his mistress. Timestamp, 4:30 p.m. I was currently in the middle of a code blue, doing chest compressions on a 50-year-old father of 3. Week 4. Video number 7, June 4th. The Ring doorbell caught Gavin leaving our house with a gym bag. "Heading to the Y," he had yelled to me upstairs. 5 minutes later, the backyard camera caught him entering Felicity's back door with the gym bag. He wasn't working out. Well, not at the gym. Week 5. Video number 9. This was the worst one. It was a Tuesday. I was home. I was in the kitchen. I watched the live feed on my phone as Gavin stood on Felicity's patio. They were arguing. I turned up the volume on my phone to hear the audio captured by the sensitive microphone. She's always tired, Gavin was saying. It's like living with a zombie. She brings the hospital home with her. It's depressing, Felicity. You're so alive. I know, baby, Felicity cooed. You deserve fun. You deserve light. I stood in my kitchen, gripping the granite counter. Depressing. Zombie. I save lives. I pull people back from the brink of death. I hold the hands of dying grandmothers so they aren't alone. And I come home exhausted because I have given everything I have to strangers. And he called it depressing. That was the moment the sadness died. That was the moment the cold rage calcified into something permanent. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted a demolition. The opportunity arrived in my inbox on a Wednesday morning in mid-June. It was a mass email from the HOA board. Subject: urgent, quarterly community assembly and summer planning. Dear residents, please join us this Saturday, June 15th at 3 p.m. in the community center for our mandatory quarterly assembly. We will be discussing the budget, the new pool rules, and finalizing the schedule for the summer block party. Your attendance is crucial. Warmly, Felicity Jenkins, HOA President. I read the email, I reread it. Then a second email pinged, just to me, from Felicity Jenkins. To Piper Davis. Subject: quick favor? Hey Piper, hope you're doing well. Quick question. I know you're super tech savvy. Nurses have to be with all those machines, right? LOL. My laptop is acting up and the projector at the community center is so finicky. Since you're on the garden committee this year, would you mind bringing your laptop to the meeting on Saturday? I need to run the slide deck for the summer party, and I'm terrified mine will crash. Let me know. You'd be a lifesaver. XOXO Felicity. I stared at the screen. She wanted to use my laptop. She wanted to connect my computer to the giant 120-inch projector screen in front of the entire neighborhood. She wanted me to facilitate her presentation. A slow, terrifying smile spread across my face. It was the kind of smile that would make a patient very nervous if they saw it on a nurse. She was inviting the Trojan horse right into the city gates. A lifesaver, I whispered, reading her words. Sure, Felicity, I'll be a lifesaver. I hit reply. Hey, Felicity. No problem at all. I'd love to help. I'll bring my laptop and have everything set up. Just bring your files on a USB and we can plug and play. See you Saturday. Best Piper. I hit send. I looked at my folder labeled Tax Documents 2024. I looked at the 9 videos, the high-definition 4K time-stamped videos. I had 72 hours to prepare the presentation of a lifetime. Friday evening, 6 p.m. The witching hour. Gavin was out getting gas, which I assumed meant he was getting gas at the station 3 blocks away and then spending 45 minutes inhaling Felicity's perfume. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone. I had to make the call. I had to solidify the trap. If I just showed up with a laptop, it might look suspicious. I needed her to beg me for it. I dialed Felicity's number. Hello? Her voice was breathless. She was probably rushing to fix her hair before Gavin accidentally ran into her at the gas station. "Hey, Felicity!" "It's Piper," I said, pitching my voice up to that helpful, non-threatening soprano that I use when a patient is screaming about waiting times. "I just wanted to double-check about tomorrow for the projector." "Oh, Piper, you're an angel," she gushed. "Yes, my laptop is officially dead. Blue screen of death. I think I downloaded a virus from a knitting pattern site. Can you believe that?" "Technology is so fickle," I said. "So, plan B is a go. I'll bring my MacBook. It has an HDMI port so we can plug directly into the system." "Perfect," she said. "I have all the slides on a flash drive. I'll just hand it to you before the meeting starts. You plug it in, and we're golden." "Actually," I improvised, "Macs can be weird with external drives sometimes. You know, the formatting. It might be safer if you email me the file tonight, or... Actually, no, email compresses images. Do you have the drive now? I could swing by and grab it, just to load it onto my desktop beforehand to make sure it runs smooth." There was a pause. She was calculating. Was it worth the risk of me coming to her door? "I'm actually heading out right now," she said quickly, "to the store." "No worries," I chirped. "Just bring the drive tomorrow. I'll get there early. Say 2:45. We can do a tech run." 2:45 is perfect," she said. "Thanks, sweetie. You're saving my life." "I'm happy to help," I said. "Really." "It's going to be a presentation everyone remembers." "I hope so. I put a lot of work into the font choices." She laughed. "I bet you did," I said. "See you tomorrow." I hung up. My hand was shaking, not from fear, but from the sheer effort of not vomiting. Sweetie. She called me Sweetie. Friday night, 11:00 p.m. Gavin was asleep. He had come home smelling of mint gum and cheap guilt, muttered something about the gas station line being crazy, and passed out. I was in the guest room, my office, working on the payload. This was the technical part. This was where the Trojan horse had to be built with surgical precision. I took a brand new 64 GB SanDisk USB drive. I inserted it into my laptop. I created a main folder titled HOA Summer Event Assets. Inside that folder, I dropped Felicity's actual PowerPoint presentation, which she had eventually emailed me just in case, a generic file with clip art of balloons. But then I created a second folder. I named it Community Garden Proposal Files. A boring name, the kind of name nobody looks at twice. Inside that folder, I dragged the 9 videos. But here's the trick. If you just leave video files as a list, they look like text. IMG 49210.mp4 boring. I opened the View options on my MacBook. I cranked the icon size slider all the way to the right. Maximum. Now the files weren't a list. They were a grid of massive, high-definition thumbnails. I spent the next hour scrubbing through the videos to set the poster frame, the thumbnail image, for each file. For video number 1, the fence hop, I set the thumbnail to the exact second Gavin was straddling the fence, looking terrified. For video number 4, the whine, I set it to the moment his hand was on her face. For video number 9, the zombie comment, I set it to a close-up of Felicity laughing. I arranged them in a grid. It looked like a collage of infidelity. I tested it. I opened the folder. Boom. 12 inches of betrayal instantly visible without even clicking play. I closed the laptop. I felt like Oppenheimer staring at the button. Saturday morning, 10:00 a.m. The meeting was in 5 hours. I decided to do one final check of the drive. I plugged the USB into my laptop. Nothing happened. I waited. The little light on the drive blinked, then stopped. My screen remained blank. I opened Finder. No drive detected. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I pulled it out. Blew on it, the universal fix for all technology. Plugged it back in. A dialog box popped up. "The disk you inserted was not readable by this computer." Panic, cold and sharp, flooded my chest. The drive was corrupted. Maybe I ejected it too fast last night. Maybe it was a dud. I looked at the clock. 10:05 a.m. Gavin was in the shower. I had maybe 10 minutes before he came downstairs for coffee. I grabbed my keys. I needed a new drive. I couldn't risk this one glitching on the big screen. I ran downstairs. "Where you going?" Gavin called from the top of the stairs, a towel wrapped around his waist. I froze, hand on the doorknob. "Starbucks!" I yelled. "We're out of coffee." "We have a full bag," he said, frowning. "It's stale," I lied. "I need the fresh stuff, for energy. Big meeting today." "Okay, crazy," he laughed. "Get me a tall blonde roast." "Oh, you've had enough tall blondes," I muttered under my breath, slamming the door. I drove to the nearest Walgreens like I was driving an ambulance. I bought a 3-pack of USB drives. I tore the packaging open with my teeth in the parking lot. I raced home. 10:35 a.m. I ran back upstairs to the guest room. "Just sending some last-minute emails," I shouted to Gavin. I plugged in the new drive. It mounted. Thank God. I retransferred the files. I reset the thumbnail sizes. I rechecked every single poster frame. By 11:15 a.m., the weapon was reloaded. I hid the new USB drive in my bra. I wasn't letting that thing out of my sight. 1:30 p.m. We were getting ready. The atmosphere in the house was weirdly domestic. Gavin was ironing a shirt. Not just any shirt. He was ironing a crisp white button-down. He was wearing slacks. He was putting on his client meeting watch. "You look nice," I said, leaning against the doorframe, watching him groom himself for his mistress. "It's a community meeting, Piper," he said, checking his jawline in the mirror. "Gotta represent the household. We want people to respect us, right?" "Respect is huge," I agreed. Then he reached for the cologne. It was a bottle of sandalwood and bergamot I had bought him 3 Christmases ago. He hadn't worn it in 2 years. He said it was too strong for work. He sprayed it twice on his neck. The smell hit me instantly. It was the smell of our early dating years. It was the smell of the man I thought I knew. "I thought you hated that cologne," I said quietly. He capped the bottle, looking guilty for a split second. "Oh, I just found it in the back of the cabinet. Figured I'd use it up. Waste not, want not, right?" "Right," I said. "Recycling." He turned to me. "You ready? You look nice." I was wearing my serious nurse outfit. Dark jeans, a navy blazer, comfortable flats. I looked like I was ready to deliver bad news to a family in the waiting room, which in a way I was. "I'm ready," I said. "Let's go." The community center at the Oaks at Riverview is a beige windowless room that smells permanently of floor wax and stale donuts. When we walked in at 2:50 p.m., the room was already buzzing. There were about 70 people there. It was a full house. Usually these meetings get maybe 20 people, but Felicity had promised big summer announcements and free cookies, so the turnout was high. I scanned the room. There was Barrett, my ally, sitting in the back row, arms crossed, cane resting against his knee. He made eye contact with me and gave a microscopic nod. There was Rachel, Unit 4F. Rachel is the self-appointed rule enforcer. She brings a physical copy of the HOA bylaws to every meeting, highlighted in 3 different colors. If things went south, Rachel would be the one citing the codes. There were the tech bros from Unit 3B, 2 guys in their 20s who mined crypto and constantly complained about the building's Wi-Fi bandwidth. They were already on their phones, looking bored. Gavin waved to a few people. "Hey, Bob! Hi, Susan!" He was working the room. He was the charming husband. He sat down in the 3rd row, saving a seat for me. "I have to go set up," I told him. "I'll sit in the front." "Okay, babe," he said, pulling out his phone. "Knock 'em dead." I walked to the front of the room. The projector screen was huge. It was a 120-inch canvas of white potential. Felicity was at the podium. She looked presidential. She was wearing a white pantsuit, literal white, like she was a suffragette or a bride. Her hair was in a perfect blowout. "Piper," she called out, waving me over. "My savior." She hugged me. I smelled her perfume. It was vanilla. It mixed with the scent of sandalwood still lingering in my nose from Gavin. The combination, vanilla and sandalwood, made my stomach turn. It was the olfactory recipe of my marriage ending. "Hi, Felicity," I said. "Ready to rock?" "Born ready," she beamed. "Here's the HDMI cable. The projector is already on, just plug and play." I placed my MacBook on the small table next to the podium. "I have my drive right here," she whispered, handing me a small silver USB. "Just open the file, Summer Bash 2024. "Got it," I said. I took her drive. I put it in my pocket. I didn't plug it in. Instead, I reached into my bra, subtly while turning my back to the crowd to check the cables, and pulled out my drive, the SanDisk, the weapon. I plugged it in. The room quieted down as the clock hit 3 RPM. "All right, everyone," Felicity's voice boomed over the microphone. "Welcome to the quarterly assembly. So glad to see such a full house." Applause. Gavin clapped the loudest. I could see him from my spot at the side table. He was beaming at her. "We have a lot to get through," Felicity continued. "Budget updates, the pool renovation, and of course, the summer kickoff party." More applause. "But first," she said, checking her notes, "I want to invite Piper Davis up here. She's been helping me with the technical side of things today because, as you all know, technology hates me." Laughter. Polite suburban laughter. "Piper, can you get the slides up?" "Sure thing, Felicity," I said into the dead air. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. My hands were sweating. This was it. There was no going back. I woke up my laptop. The projector screen behind me flickered from blue to my desktop background, a neutral geometric pattern. I opened Finder. I navigated to the USB drive. "Okay," I muttered, loud enough for the front row to hear. "Just locating the files." "Take your time," Felicity chirped. She took a sip of water. I found the folder. Community Garden Proposal Files. "Is this it?" I asked innocently. I double-clicked. Because I had set the view settings to extra-large icons, the folder didn't open as a list. It exploded onto the screen. Suddenly, the 120-inch screen behind Felicity wasn't showing bullet points about pool maintenance. It was filled with a grid of 9 massive, high-resolution images. The silence that hit the room was instant. It wasn't a gradual quiet. It was a vacuum. The image in the top left, Gavin climbing the fence, his face clearly visible, looking guilty. The image in the center, Gavin and Felicity on her patio, sharing wine, his hand caressing her cheek. The image in the bottom right, a close-up of them kissing in her doorway. The images were crisp. The projector was 4K. You could see the brand of wine. You could see the sweat on Gavin's forehead. Felicity had her back to the screen. She was smiling at the audience. Then she noticed the audience's faces. Mrs. Higgins in the front row dropped her mouth open. The tech bros in row 4 sat up straight, eyes wide. Gavin in row 3 went pale, not white, gray. He looked like he was having a stroke. "What?" Felicity asked, seeing the reaction. "Is the font too small?" She turned around. I didn't give her time to process. "Oh, weird," I said into the silence. My voice was calm, clinical. "These aren't the garden files." I moved the mouse cursor. It was a giant white arrow on the screen. I hovered over the center video, the one where they were drinking wine. "Maybe it's inside this file," I said. I clicked. The video opened full screen. The audio routed through the community center's PA system boomed out. On screen, Gavin is leaning back in a patio chair. Gavin's voice, Borming. She's always tired. It's like living with a zombie. She brings the hospital home with her. It's depressing, Felicity. The word depressing echoed off the linoleum walls. Felicity's voice, cooing. "I know, baby. You deserve fun. You deserve light." I hit pause. I turned to the audience. "Oh my God," I said, putting a hand to my mouth. "I am so sorry. I must have synced the wrong folder. Is this Is this the community watch footage? Turn it off, Felicity screamed. She lunged for the laptop. Turn it off right now, she shrieked, her presidential composure shattering into a million pieces. I stepped back, holding the laptop out of reach. I'm trying, it's frozen. It wasn't frozen. The room exploded. It wasn't polite anymore. Is that Gavin? Someone yelled from the back. That's the HOA President, someone else shouted. World Star, one of the tech bros yelled, holding his phone up horizontally to film the screen. Gavin stood up. Piper, stop it! He started pushing his way out of the row, knocking over a folding chair. I can't stop it, I yelled back. It's playing the next one automatically. I accidentally hit the next arrow key. Video number 2 played, the one with the foster dog lie. On screen, Gavin. It's exposure therapy, a medical thing. Felicity. Yeah, for my allergies. Laughter. Cruel, shocked laughter rippled through the room. Everyone knew Felicity hated dogs. Felicity reached the table. She tried to slam my laptop shut, but she was blocked. Rachel, rule enforcer, had stepped up. She wasn't blocking Felicity physically, but she was blocking the narrative. Wait a minute, Rachel shouted, holding up her bylaws book. If these are security recordings of common areas, the community has a right to review them under Article 4, Section C regarding suspicious activity. It's not suspicious activity, Felicity screamed, tears streaming down her face. It's my private life. It's on the big screen, honey, Mrs. Higgins yelled from the front row. Savage. Gavin had made it to the aisle. He was making a break for the double doors at the back. I'm out of here, he yelled. This is insane. You're crazy, Piper. He ran toward the exit, but the exit was blocked. Barrett was standing there. He had moved his chair. He was leaning on his cane, planting it firmly in the center of the doorway. Excuse me, Gavin said, trying to push past. Movement in the hall, Barrett said loudly, not moving an inch. I documented the noise, Gavin, every Tuesday. During Jeopardy. Move, old man, Gavin shouted. Don't touch him, the tech bro yelled, stepping in. I got that on video, Gavin. Don't touch a senior citizen. Gavin froze. He looked at Barrett. He looked at the phones pointed at him. He looked at me, standing by the projector, bathed in the light of his own infidelity. He looked small. I closed the laptop. Finally. The screen went black. The room was buzzing with that high-frequency energy you feel after a car crash. I think, I said into the microphone, that we can skip the garden proposal. I unplugged my computer. I picked it up. Felicity was sobbing at the podium. Her white suit was ruined. She had knocked over the pitcher of water in her panic. She looked like a wet, sad bride. You ruined everything, she hissed at me. You bitch. I leaned in close to her. The microphone was off now. I didn't ruin anything, Felicity, I whispered. I just took the minutes of the meeting. You provided the content. I walked down the center aisle. The sea of neighbors parted for me like I was Moses. Gavin was still standing by the back door, trapped by Barrett and the judgment of 70 people. I stopped in front of him. Piper, he started, his voice shaking. Let's go home and talk about this. You're making a scene. I'm not going home, I said. And we're not talking. You can talk to my lawyer. He charges by the hour, so I'd keep it brief. Piper, please. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. Don't. You smell like sandalwood. It's giving me a headache. I walked past him. I walked past Barrett. Good meeting, Barrett grunted as I passed. Very informative, I agreed. I walked out into the parking lot. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. It was a beautiful day. I got in my car, locked the doors, and drove away. I didn't go home. I went to a hotel. I ordered room service. I slept for 12 hours. Update, September 15th. The divorce was finalized last week. It turns out when you have 4K video evidence of adultery presented to a quorum of homeowners, the negotiation process is streamlined. Gavin didn't fight for the condo. He didn't fight for the savings. He just wanted it to be over. He moved to a different suburb, 40 minutes away. I heard he's renting a basement apartment. Felicity didn't fare much better. The social fallout was swift and brutal. In a condo complex, reputation is currency, and she was bankrupt. The zombie comment was what really did her in. It turns out a lot of people in the building have stressful jobs or sick relatives. Mocking a nurse for being tired didn't play well with the demographic. She put her unit on the market 2 weeks after the meeting. It sold last month. She moved back to Ohio to live with her sister. And me? I'm currently sitting on my balcony. It's a Tuesday. 6:15 p.m. I'm drinking a glass of wine. The events committee met last night. They voted for a new chair. I didn't want the job, honestly. But Rachel nominated me, and the tech bros seconded it, and Barrett actually smiled, so I took it. Our first event is next weekend, a fall cleanup and recycling drive. I made a flyer. It says, "Please sort your recyclables responsibly. No contaminants allowed." I looked down at the courtyard. A new couple was moving into Felicity's old unit. They looked nice. They had a cat. I took a sip of wine. The air smelled like autumn leaves and charcoal grills. No sandalwood, no vanilla, just fresh air. I opened my laptop to check the RSVP list for the cleanup. Folder. HOA Projects. Status. Clean. I closed the laptop, leaned back, and watched the sunset. It was a good day to be alive. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.